Welcome to By Kids for Kids Bible Story, produced by Audio Visual Education in partnership with BibleForChildren.org. You can download more episodes of By Kids for Kids Bible Stories for free. Just search for us on iTunes. It's easy. The prince becomes a shepherd. One day, Moses saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave. Though Moses had been raised and educated as a prince in Pharaoh's palace, he too was a Hebrew. He had to help the slave. Glancing around to make sure nobody was watching, Moses attacked the cruel slave master. In the fight which followed, Moses killed the Egyptian. Quickly, he buried the body. The next day, Moses saw two Hebrews fighting. He tried to stop them. One said,
"Will you kill me as you killed the Egyptian?"
Moses was afraid.
Everybody knows about yesterday. Pharaoh knows. I have to escape.
He went to a country called Midian. While Moses rested by a well, the 7 daughters of the priest of Midian filled the troughs to water their father's flock. Other shepherds tried to push them aside. Moses protected and helped the woman.
"You're home early."
Rule, the girl's father exclaimed. When the girls explained why, he said,
"Bring the man here."
Moses lived with Rule, who was also called Jethro. Later, Moses married Rule's oldest daughter. Back in Egypt, Pharaoh died. God's people, the Hebrews, were still slaves. How they groaned in their suffering. How they prayed for God's help. God heard their prayers. Moses did not know it, but God planned to use him to help the enslaved Hebrews. 40 years had passed since Moses left Egypt. He was shepherd of Rule's flock. But he must have missed his own people in Egypt. One day, Moses noticed a nearby bush on fire. But the fire did not burn the bush. Moses decided to find out why. As Moses approached, God called to him out of the bush.
"Moses!"
"Here I am," said Moses.
"Don't get too close,"
God said.
"Take off your sandals, because the place where you stand is holy ground. I will send you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Egypt."
God said, but Moses was afraid to go. Then God showed Moses his great power. He turned Moses' rod into a snake. When Moses picked up the serpent by its tail, it became a rod once more. God gave another sign.
"Put your hand on your chest."
He commanded. Moses did so. His hand turned white with a terrible disease, leprosy. When he did it again, his hand was healed. Moses still objected. "I don't speak well," he told God. God became angry.
"I'll use Aaron, your brother, to speak the words you tell him."
Moses returned to Jethro, packed his belongings, and left for Egypt. God led Moses' brother, Aaron, to meet Moses in the mountains. Moses told Aaron all about God's plan to set the Hebrew people free from the Egyptians.
Look, Aaron, this is what we're gonna do.
Together, they carried the news to the Hebrew leaders. When Moses showed the signs to the Hebrew elders, they knew God would help them. Together, they bowed in worship. Bravely, Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh.
God says, let my people go.
They told him,
I will not let Israel go.
Pharaoh answered,
I will not obey God.
God would have to use his great powers to change Pharaoh's mind. Thank you for listening to this episode of By Kids for Kids Bible Stories, produced by Audio Visual Education in partnership with BibleForChildren.org. You can download more episodes of By Kids for Kids Bible Stories for free. Just search for us on iTunes. You can also rate us on iTunes. It really makes a big difference and will help us to bring you more stories.
When the Israelites left Egypt, the people were overjoyed. They danced and sang as they marched towards their promised land. After many years of slavery, they were now a free nation. They would travel through the wilderness and once again experience God's provision. There in the wilderness during the day, God led them with a huge cloud in the sky. The people could always look up and see it. God's presence was always there. During the night, the cloud turned into a pillar of fire, and the people knew when and where to go. God provided the Israelites with water and food and took care of them. Finally, the people came to the Red Sea, where they stopped for the night. Even though Pharaoh had let the people go, he suddenly changed his mind. Now he sent his entire army to chase them down. Hundreds of chariots and fierce soldiers came rushing after the Israelites. The Egyptian army came closer. When the Israelites saw this, they grew in fear and started complaining to Moses, "Why did you bring us out here to die? We were much better off in the land of Egypt." When Moses saw this and heard the complaints of the Israelites, he prayed to the Lord, and the Lord told him exactly what to do. Once again, God's mighty power would be displayed for all to see, and hopefully this time, the Israelites would learn to trust God. God told Moses to stretch out his hands over the mighty sea. A strong wind began to blow that turned the raging sea into a dry land. This created a perfect path for the Israelites to pass through. It was a wonderful thing to behold. The waters piled up on either side, and once again, God delivered the Israelites from the hand of the Egyptians. That entire night, the wind kept blowing. The Israelites, with all their possessions, safely passed through. Right on their tracks were the Egyptian army. Even seeing the wonder God was doing, the Egyptians had no fear and charged right into the sea after the Israelites. When the last of the Israelites passed through the passageway, God told Moses to raise his hands and staff again. This time, the wind stopped blowing, and God swept the Egyptian army into the ocean. The waters covered the passageway, and Pharaoh's entire army drowned. Not one survived. When the Israelites saw what the Lord had done, they worshipped him. They were struck with awe at God's deliverance and decided to put their trust in God and his servant Moses. Their exodus out of Egypt was over, but their wandering in the wilderness would last for many more years.